Shilo Sanders' NFL gamble. From costly fines to a market of two desperate teams, the journey from college stardom to professional football can be cruel, unpredictable, and often brutal. For Shilo Sanders, the son of the legendary Deion coach Prime Sanders, the NFL has already proven to be a roller coaster ride filled with glimpses of promise, flashes of brilliance, and painful stumbles that threaten to derail a dream before it ever truly takes root. Once seen as a hard-hitting, energetic safety with a penchant for big plays and loud swagger, Shilo's future in the league now hangs by a fragile thread. After a preseason outburst cost him his roster spot and landed him a fine worth more than twice his paycheck, Sanders' options have dwindled to just two potential suitors, the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings. But how did it come to this? How did the son of one of football's most electrifying figures find himself fighting for a future with only two franchises willing to even consider him? And perhaps most importantly, does Shilo Sanders still have the talent, discipline, and mentality to turn a second chance into a redemption story that could silence the doubters and reignite his career? This is the story of how one moment of frustration nearly erased years of work, how two franchises now find themselves weighing the risks and rewards of gambling on Sanders, and how the weight of legacy and expectation continues to shape every step of his professional odyssey. A humble beginning, undrafted but unbowed. Unlike his father Deion or even his younger brother Shedeur, who entered the NFL spotlight with cameras and headlines following every move, Shilo Sanders' introduction to the league was far less glamorous. He went undrafted, a status that for many signals the beginning of the end rather than the start of a career. Yet, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers saw something in him. Tampa's front office, known for occasionally plucking overlooked talents and polishing them into contributors, offered Shilo a shot as an undrafted free agent. The signing bonus? A modest $1,572, hardly enough to cover a month's rent in most NFL cities. But for Shilo, it was proof that someone believed in him. And with belief came opportunity. Throughout training camp, Sanders impressed with his energy, competitiveness, and ability to diagnose plays quickly. He wasn't flashy, but he was dependable. Teammates noticed his vocal leadership. Coaches praised his intensity in drills. Media reports even suggested that Sanders had played himself into serious contention for a spot on the 53-man roster. And then came the preseason finale. The punch that changed everything. On the surface, it was just another heated moment in a preseason game, the kind of flare-up that happens countless times across the league when rookies and veterans collide. But for Shilo Sanders, the incident with Buffalo Bills tight end Zach Davidson carried consequences far greater than the punch he threw. It was the second quarter when Davidson, known for his aggressive blocking, drove Sanders back with a force that many rookies might have simply swallowed as part of their NFL initiation. Shilo didn't take it that way. Frustration boiled over. Instead of walking away, he swung. The officials wasted no time. Flags flew. Sanders was ejected. Just like that, his audition turned into a nightmare. The Buccaneers moved quickly too. Within hours, reports surfaced that the rookie safety was being released. Any goodwill he had built in camp evaporated with one swing of his fist. And the NFL wasn't finished. Days later, a fine landed on Sanders' doorstep, $4,669. The irony was cruel. He was being charged more than double his entire signing bonus for a momentary lapse in judgment. It wasn't just a financial blow. It was symbolic. For Shilo Sanders, the message was clear. In the NFL, mistakes are not only costly, they can be career-ending. A market reduced to two. The release from Tampa Bay and the hefty fine cast immediate doubt on Sanders' future. Teams across the league took note of his temper, his immaturity, and his lack of NFL experience. Waivers came and went. No practice squad invitations followed. Suddenly, the once-rising prospect found himself with few options. According to USA Today's roster analysis in late August, the market for safeties had dwindled. At that time, only two teams truly stood out as having a pressing need at the position: the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings. That's it. From 32 franchises, Sanders' hopes had collapsed into a coin flip between two desperate organizations, each dealing with its own unique brand of instability at safety. The Chicago Bears. Stability with cracks beneath the surface. At first glance, the Bears don't look like a team in dire need of a safety. Their starting duo, Jaquan Brisker and Kevin Byard III, is one of the most respected in the NFC. Byard, coming off a career year, is a veteran presence capable of anchoring the secondary. Brisker, when healthy, is an emerging star with range and instincts that excite defensive coordinators. But health is the key word. Brisker's 2024 season was cut short after just 5 games due to a concussion, raising long-term durability concerns. Byard, though reliable, is on the back 9 of his career. Depth pieces Elijah Hicks and Jonathan Owens remain largely untested in expanded roles. Behind the curtain, Bears insiders admit there's unease. Defensive coordinator Dennis Allen is rebuilding the unit around aggression and opportunism. That requires depth, youth, and versatility. And while Chicago doesn't necessarily need a starting safety, the team can't afford to gamble its season on an aging veteran and an injury-prone young star. Shilo Sanders, for all his flaws, offers something different. Hunger. A player fighting not just for playing time but for survival might bring the spark Chicago's secondary quietly craves. The Minnesota Vikings. A sunset looming in the secondary. The Vikings' situation is different but equally precarious. Their safety room is headlined by Harrison Smith, a 6-time Pro Bowler and one of the most respected defensive backs of his era. But Smith is now 36, and time waits for no player, no matter how decorated. Behind Smith stand Joshua Metellus and Theo Jackson. Metellus is a Swiss Army knife, praised for his versatility, while Jackson is dependable but unspectacular. Jay Ward, entering his 3rd season, has yet to cement himself as anything more than a rotational piece. Tavier Thomas adds depth but not dominance. The Vikings' defensive identity leans heavily on disguise and versatility, often requiring safeties to switch roles, mask coverages, and fly into run support. It's a demanding system, one that thrives on fresh legs and high energy. And that's where Sanders could fit. His college tape at Jackson State and Colorado shows exactly the type of physicality and sideline-to-sideline energy that can thrive in Minnesota's scheme. He's raw, yes. He's unproven, certainly. But he brings a chaos factor, a willingness to play on the edge. For a team preparing for life after Harrison Smith, that spark could be worth the gamble. Legacy as a double-edged sword. Any conversation about Shilo Sanders inevitably circles back to his last name. Being the son of Deion Sanders is both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, it guarantees attention. On the other, it magnifies mistakes. Deion's shadow looms large. Prime Time was one of the greatest defensive players in NFL history, a two-sport superstar and a cultural icon. Shilo, by contrast, has entered the league through the side door, undrafted and already fighting uphill battles. But pedigree matters. Teams know Shilo was raised around the game, mentored by a Hall of Famer who drilled discipline, competitiveness, and swagger into his children from day one. They also know that with a last name like Sanders, media attention follows. Signing Shilo isn't just a football move. It's a statement, one that could either backfire spectacularly or ignite headlines that energize a fan base. The fine that still stings. The $4,669 fine remains a strange subplot in this saga. As NFL writer Michael David Smith dryly noted, presumably any fine would be taken out of his next NFL paycheck if he gets a next NFL paycheck. That's the cruel irony. Without a roster spot or practice squad placement, Sanders may never technically pay the fine because he may never earn another paycheck. For the league, the punishment was symbolic, a reminder of its zero-tolerance stance on unsportsmanlike conduct. For Sanders, it was salt in the wound, a reminder that one mistake can outweigh an entire summer of hard work. Yet, some argue the fine itself has hardened his resolve. Friends and insiders claim Shilo has doubled down on training, eager to prove the moment in Buffalo was a fluke, not a reflection of his character. He has been vocal about wanting a second chance, emphasizing accountability and growth. Redemption or ruin, the gamble ahead. So now the NFL waits. Two teams, the Bears and the Vikings, sit as potential lifelines for a career already dangling over the edge. Both franchises face questions that Shilo Sanders, if disciplined and focused, could help answer. Both also face the risk of signing a player whose most notable NFL moment to date is a costly punch. For Chicago, Sanders could be insurance against injury, a depth piece with upside. For Minnesota, he could be an investment in the future, a developmental project to groom behind Harrison Smith. For Sanders, the stakes are even higher. This isn't just about landing another contract. It's about proving he belongs in the league at all. Another misstep, another outburst, and the window could slam shut for good.